Okay, let me get this straight. I go off the grid in Death Valley for 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, and you guys let a Chinese spy balloon fly over the US? Come on, I can't do everything, people. Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce. I have a lot of friends and family members who have asked me, could we or could I, with my collection of firearms, shoot down the Chinese spy balloon? So in today's video, can someone actually shoot down that Chinese spy balloon? If we could, what would happen? And finally, what do you think that Chinese spy balloon is doing? Let's get to it. In this video, I'm going to put the spy satellite balloon like right over here somewhere and then make reference to it. I'll just put that in post in the editing bay later on. So you'll be able to see the references of what we can and can't do as far as reaching that balloon. So first of all, is there a gun that you can use to shoot down that balloon? Well, it's at 60,000 feet right now. At the time of this recording, it's at 60,000 feet, which is the lowest it's been so far. Before, it was way higher than that. So you're going to need something much stronger than your Ruger 1022. So here's a bolt-action rifle chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, which is a very competent round. It's very accurate. It's a very long range. It's very flat shooting. It has all the capabilities of firing as high and as far as possible. But could it reach 60,000 feet in the air? No, not even close. I even did the math with my .338 Winchester Magnum here. Now, could that reach the 60,000 foot tall spy satellite? Again, no. And there are many reasons why that these rifles could not reach that height in the atmosphere. One of which is because smokeless gunpowder, actually all gunpowder, pretty much has a limited amount of speed that can generate in one of these rifle barrels. And it's nowhere close to getting a projectile fast enough to reach that kind of height. But how high can these rifles shoot? Well, if you shot straight up in the air, I've crunched some numbers on this stuff, and basically you're looking at between 8 and 10,000 feet in the air. So I'll put a graphic right here where that would be in relation to the spy balloon. Some of you are thinking, Deuce, you have been reloading ammunition for 20 years now. Surely you can come up with some sort of combination of the right shape of bullet, lightweight bullet so it gets a faster trajectory out of the barrel, a really hot burning gunpowder that really gets that bullet smoking and screaming out of that barrel. And you're correct. I could engineer a firearm, a very heavy duty breech firearm that shoots a very small bullet very quickly, and it's still not going to be nearly enough. For argument's sake, let's just say that we supercharged and wildcatted wildcatted is now a verb. Let's just say that. Wildcatted a .22-250 cartridge, which is right here. It's a very tiny bullet on top of a very large cartridge, and that thing usually comes out of the barrel close to like 4,000 feet per second. Super fast. So could we make that even faster and get it up there? No. Let's say, for instance, we got that thing going 20% faster or 20% higher. Let's say that. We got it 20% higher than it would be normally. So that's not even a quarter of the distance to that 60,000 foot threshold that we need as a minimum ability. The three main reasons why a bullet cannot reach that kind of altitude is, number one, because gunpowder can only burn so fast, and it can only reach a certain type of velocity out of a barrel, and then it cannot burn any faster. It can't shoot it any further. If you double the length of this barrel, it's not going to make the bullet any faster. It just won't do it. The gunpowder won't accelerate any faster than it can. Number two is air resistance. No matter how slick and how pointed you make that bullet, it is, even with a boat tail design, it is going to be slowed down by the air resistance by a lot. Every single bullet out there has a ballistics coefficient, and that's a big mathematical formula that shows you how quickly that bullet's going to slow down going through the atmosphere. And they're different for every single bullet, but it is there and it is present on every single bullet design. And lastly, it's gravity that keeps the bullet from going that high. I mean, you want to see a demonstration of gravity? Boom. Let's make all the noise. For argument's sake, let's say we're shooting this thing in a vacuum. So then the bullet's going up against gravity in a vacuum, so there's no air resistance. The gravity alone is going to pull down that bullet at 32.2 feet per second squared. Now, what does that mean? That means basically for every second that bullet's going up, it's going to be slowed down by 32 feet per second. With that in mind, I was thinking, is there anything in our arsenal that we could shoot, like gun-style arsenal, that we could shoot from the ground and hit a 60,000 foot high target? Well, the first thing that came to my mind was some of our artillery options. So I reached out to a friend of mine that, I mean, he was in artillery back in the day, back in his Vietnam days. So this information is very old, but from his recollection, his highest soaring artillery shells were somewhere between 20 and 30,000 feet. He couldn't quite remember exactly, so take that number with a grain of salt, but higher estimations I could find were still nowhere near 60,000 feet in elevation. My apologies if you hear some mechanical noise in the background of this video, because I am printing off an item for a future video. It's a Chem Light magazine, so take a look at that. If you're interested in chem lights and being able to control the night a little better on a budget, stay tuned. Basically, all of our land-based guns are null and void. We cannot reach that kind of height with anything that's land-based. So that leaves us with things that fly. So do we have fighter jets that could reach that height and shoot it down? Of course we do. Do we have drones that could do that? Yes, we do. Actually, I was in Nevada. I drove by that air base several times, actually, going to and from Death Valley. And they're out there with those drones right now. They are huge, by the way. They are not tiny little drones that I'm messing around with on a farm. They're big mamma jammas. And of course, we have various missiles in our arsenal. So basically, anything that's self-powered that we have could reach that ceiling of 60,000 feet. One of the reasons why the Pentagon is stating they don't plan on shooting this thing down is because it could be a danger to anyone underneath it, because the thing is huge. I was surprised when I heard how large this thing was. Three buses, the actual payload underneath the balloon. They got the balloon, then you have the payload just hanging underneath there. The payload itself is about the size of a 747. It's 3 school buses long. That is huge. That is a large payload. And furthermore, the problem is it is powered. It has a power source on there. That power source could just be plain lithium-ion batteries. Okay, fine, that's not great for the environment for having a big chunk of lithium-ion batteries slammed against the ground from 10 miles up, but it's not going to kill everything around it. But it could be a radioisotope battery, which is that's the same thing we used for the Voyager space probe from the 70s. And we still use them today as well in their space technology. And that's basically a clump of radioactive mass that gives off radiation, and the surrounding material absorbs that and makes it into electricity. So it's a very long-lasting, very stable battery. But that safety jacket could be compromised by, say, a missile, a stray bullet hitting it from a fighter plane, or just a simple drop from 10 miles up in the atmosphere. That could definitely probably crack that case open and become a nuclear or biological issue later on. One of the possible reasons why they didn't shoot it down over the ocean is because they didn't want to show their hand to the Chinese how good our radar detection is. Which leads me to the third segment of this video. What the heck is that thing doing? The first thing that came to mind for me when I heard about a spy balloon going over the nation is that it was up there taking pictures straight down. But then I thought about it. Like, the Chinese already have a spy satellite technology and network up there. So they're already taking pictures that are almost as good as our spy satellite photographs. So this thing is causing a lot of stir, but it's not really providing them anything else than they already have access to. They can take pictures of all of our military bases already, and they have been for years. So what are they doing? Well, we don't know for sure. We may never know what they're doing for sure. A common theory is that they're using it to map out the radar detection capabilities of all the nations, because apparently there's like 10 or 20 of them out there flying over different nations. So what it might be doing is detecting which radar station detects it first, and then as it goes across the nation, all the different radar stations that can detect it, because it can sense the radar beam bouncing back off of it. It looks like a big gantry crane with a bunch of different detectors on it. And since it does have some limited maneuverability, what it can do is detect a radar station hitting it. Okay, great. And then it can go from its broad side to its skinny side toward that radar station, and then sees if it still can track it. If the radar station continues to track it as it's in line versus its broadside, then that tells that all the equipment on there how big or how small of an item that particular radar station can track. And right now it's getting a whole slew of information from all the different radar detectors across the nation. Now, my theory is that the government has shut down a bunch of those radar stations and we're just using basically just the standard generic weather station trackers to track it along the nation to give it as little information as possible. That's my theory. I have no idea because I'm just some Joe Blow in a bunker just like you guys. Well, I'm not sure if you got bunkers or not, but I'm just like you guys looking at the news and trying to make sense of it. So let me know in the comments what you think, what this thing is doing. If we have something in our arsenal that I'm not aware of that we could shoot it down with, let me know all that in the comments below because I would love to see what your opinions are. Now, if you like this video, hit that like button. It really helps out the algorithm. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of this on the channel. And as always, you guys have a great day. See ya.